It seems like I got nothing to do. Hit up SimFBallCritic Radio. I'm listening to one of the top podcasts, and they bringing you the real. And when they talk sports, it feels like you want to feel. From real talk to real sports, from Madden to 2K, just listen for one day. They'll grab you and you'll say, it's on the net, man. Turn off your stereo, not music. I mess with SimFBallCritic Radio.
What up, folks? Welcome back to the latest episode, I would say, of SimFBallCritic Radio, episode 82. We're definitely happy to be bringing another show to you guys, and we definitely want to give our thanks to Jive Turkey for the great intro. And we'll let you guys know this in advance, and I'm sure I'll say it again throughout the show, but this will be the last show that we're going to do for this particular year. You guys know Christmas is coming up next week. The week after that will be New Year's, and both Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve fall on Thursday. So I guess it's safe to say that we're not going to be doing the show as well, as I'm sure a lot of you guys might not have the time, to listen to the show on those days. So this will be the final show for 2015, and, we'll be right back on the first Thursday of January. But let's make this one a good one, man. We definitely got a few topics that we'll talk about. You guys know the routine by now. We'll go around and tell you guys how our week went, how we feel about our football teams and what have you, and then we'll go into the topic. So without further ado, we're going to start off with Smitty. What's going on, Smitty, man? How was your week and everything, and what's the latest on the Lions?
Well, week going good. Week was good. As far as the Lions are concerned, I didn't watch the full game. I didn't get to. So I only got to listen to some of it on the radio. The officials, once again, doing their robbery tactics again on us. It's a custom at this point when we played against the Rams. And at the same time, we still lost the game. What? I know that the season pretty much is a wrap anyways after that Green Bay loss. But I'll say this, though. When it comes to how we get down in Detroit, I really don't like it because, people are asking for Caldwell to be fired. And don't get me wrong, he made a bad decision, a very bad decision, last week. But at the same time, though, everybody was jumping up and down and clicking heels and everything else when he was going to be our head coach. Now, we have one winning season, and basically dang near all the key reasons why we had that winning season leave. And now we acting like he's the worst thing since sliced bread. You know what I'm saying? We treat him like he an 0-16 coach, basically. And, we did the same thing with Reggie Bush, too. We got, people got very excited, very amped up. We got this star player coming in and all this stuff. This is a guy that was a Pro Bowler and known player and all that stuff. He's a feature back and everything. And we treated him like trash as soon as, he got nicked up a bit and wasn't putting up huge numbers and everything. And we did the same thing to Dre Bly when he came from the greatest show on turf to us. Did the same thing. He was the greatest thing ever when he came here, but then as soon as the going got tough, he's trash. And that's the one thing I don't like about, the Lions at this point in terms of how they're received. As far as what they do going forward, we don't know. Will Cooter be there? Will Terrell Austin be there? Will Caldwell still be here? You know what I'm saying? What shakeups are going to happen? We just let go of Adrian Waddle, mainly because he was injury plagued, and that really hurt his performance, and we cut him. You know what I'm saying? And that played a part in that loss that we had last week. So, like I said a few weeks back, we are a restructuring team. We're trying to figure things out. They're playing more like an expansion team at this point, but it's good to see that we have some coaching that stepped up and did some things. So really, I'm just looking at the Lions as far as future. I'm not really concerned about what they do for the rest of the year because it's not really, if anything, it's only going to impact draft status. Like, they're not really impacting anything as far as going into a postseason. So at this point, that's all I really got as far as the Lions at this point. So, but I like what the Pistons are doing. I like the work they're doing. So I'll be shifting my focus over there relatively soon.
Yeah, man. I feel that. Before I throw it to AZ, I'll just add this before I forget. I laugh at the whole coaching stuff too, man. Fans are funny, and I see it so much in Pittsburgh. So many times people want Tomlin to go, and it's crazy. But like Cardwell, it's the same thing we say about the Madden team. You got to have some type of continuity, some type of time. Like, and you see it in Washington a lot. Me being close to DC, I hear people all the time, get rid of this guy, get rid of that guy. That's probably been part of their problem is you keep rotating coaches. You don't give nobody no time to establish some type of plan. So I feel like they should stick with coaches a little longer. Don't be so hesitant to fire people, especially the fans. Give them at least 2 or 3 years or something like that. But yeah,
right.
That's crazy. But AZ, what's going on, man? How was your week? How you feeling about the Titans right now?
Good week, man. I'm back. Missed last week's show because I was sick. But it's funny that Smitty would say that, and then you comment on it as well. I just think that's the climate and the culture that we live in. People with short, patience. They have real issues with giving people time to develop a plan and system, especially in sports. Unless you're somebody like Nick Saban or Bill Belichick, you're not going to have time to develop or put your plan in place. People give you 2 years, and if you don't do it in that short span of time, then they're ready for you to go. And I think, the Lions aren't exclusive to that. As you can see, the Titans have had, since we got rid of Jeff Fisher, we've had Mike Munchak, then moved on to Ken Wisenhunt. Now we have Mike Mularkey, who will probably be gone as well. So, it's just that's a society that we live in. So don't think that that's something exclusive to the Lions. As far as the Titans, they ran into another buzzsaw with the New York Jets, and I got tired of watching. I turned the game off and started watching the Panthers, who was the other team that I root for. Not because they 13-0 as well, but I'm rooting for Cam. I want him to get a championship. But it's just like the Titans have reached that point. We're back to the number 1 draft pick, by the way, which the Titans, if they end up getting it, should trade back because they need so much roster help. It's ridiculous. I tried to think to myself, would a piece here and a piece there help? But no, man, we need corners, we need linebackers, we need receivers. Like, we came into the season, and this is Ken Wisenhunt's fault, with 4 active receivers on the roster. Like, why would you even do that? And we kept 5 tight ends. So, we put ourselves in this predicament. Kendall Wright's been hurt. Dorial Green-Beckham is a rookie who has potential like Mariota, but we're counting on 2 younger players too fast. And just hadn't been the result that, people were looking for from this year. I said that they could have at least won 7 games with the roster that they have, and they're not going to reach that pinnacle. But I don't know. Looking forward to the future in the draft. I've been saying that for a while, ever since they started looking bad under Wisenhunt. But now we're under Mularkey, and looking forward to a head coach that can maybe put his, boots in the ground and stay for a while. I've heard that the Titans want Hugh Jackson, the offensive coordinator for the Bengals, who had a stint with the Raiders and he was kicked out. I think he was only there a year before they got rid of him. But I don't think that was on him. I think, like we talked about, patience and not being able to let people develop the plan that they have in place or the plan that they want to. Um, I don't know. It's bad. The Titans have won a combined 5 games in 2 seasons, so things have to change. And I don't buy the whole Chip Kelly to Tennessee rumors. I just he has a situation with the Eagles that he needs rectifying. So I don't see him coming to the Titans. I don't know. It's not guaranteed that it would be successful. So I don't know why people are still trying to drum it up and get the connection between Chip and Mariota. Just because it worked in college doesn't mean it's going to work in the NFL as we've seen. But I don't know. I don't feel good about giving him GM powers either. We'll see what happens in the off season. I'm looking forward to, the season ending, and then we'll probably be at the forefront of news for the rest of the off season, having the number 1 pick and a new coach and maybe even a new GM. So I don't know. It just it's disappointing because the AFC South is so bad, and it could have been a year that had they been able to pull out some of those close ball games, that we would have been, a playoff team and the rookie's first year. But it didn't work out like that. But there's always next year. But how you feel about your Steelers? They are fighting for their wild card spots. Yeah.
Man, I was looking forward to the Titans taking them Jets down, man. But
I know, man. We couldn't help you out. I'm sorry.
But Pittsburgh, they put it on themselves. It's all of the coaches and us fans always say you got to win games that you should win. And you look back at games like, against the Ravens at home. Yes, it was Michael Vick. But if all of you guys remember, I think that was a Thursday night game that we all probably saw. He makes that throw on 4th and 1, game's over. The Cincinnati game, the first one, Ben just came back. Yeah, he was a little rusty. But remember, that was a 10-6 game at one point with about 3 minutes or so left. You get a first down or 2, game over. These easy games that we should have won. Kansas City game. Now, I'll give Kansas City credit. We went out to Arrowhead. We had Landry Jones. It's not all our foul power. But at the same time, those are little games that you probably should win at that time. Because if I'm not mistaken, Kansas City was like 1-5. So if you just look at 2 of those games, you're in the playoffs with ease. New England, yeah, that was going to be tough to go beat them. We all know that. Still was a 7-point game. It's just, I'm going to say this real quick about the Steelers is what I've been saying all year. I don't know about them. I think we have the potential to be a great team at some point. Offensively, ain't nobody can stop them, man. I mean, I'm not even being biased. Look at the defense that we played that's supposed to have been stellar. Arizona with all of that secondary they got out there. Piece of cake. Seattle, we still put up 30. Piece of cake. Marcus Wheaton goes for 200-plus yards receiving. I mean, I don't know, and I know we're about to face Denver. We'll see. We'll see what happens. That's going to be a big test. But I will say this. They hot right now. I think, I don't even have to think. The truth is the destiny is in our own hands. All we got to do is win. Like I said earlier in the week, I think 10-6 to get us in there. I think we're looking at Kansas City and we're looking at the Jets. The Jets probably the more primary team. I don't think they're going to go 3-0. I don't know if Kansas City will. They got the easiest way in. So I think Pittsburgh could possibly afford to lose one more game. And we needed to win that Cincinnati because my idea was if we got 3 games left, 2 out of 1, 2 for 3, and you in 10-6. Hoping that the Jets will lose a game somewhere along the way as well, maybe 2 games. But if you win out, there's nothing to worry about. You walk right on in there. You know what I'm saying? So we got a chance, man. We got Denver coming in with Osweiler. I think with it being a hostile environment, if we can play some very emotional, very inspired football, I think we can walk away with it. If our offense gets going against their defense, I think we might be able to muster up enough defense to win. But it's that secondary that scares me, man. I don't know how many of you guys saw the game last week. It's like they give up entirely too much yardage. And they'll come up with a big play here and there, but that's not going to work all the time. It didn't work in Seattle. If you keep giving up yards like that, some teams are going to get them points on you. Seattle put up 39. And think about that game. If we would have had any coverage in that game, we probably win that because they couldn't stop us. So I don't know, man. I just don't know what type of team we are. I'll say this last piece, and then we can move on. I think if we get to the playoffs, we're going to be scary. Like always, it's certain teams people don't want to play. I think Pittsburgh is one of them teams right now, just looking at what they can do on offense. But it's going to come down to that D, man. Who we going to beat? Like, are we going to beat New England? Let's say we go that far. Because, people now, even the people in Vegas are talking about Pittsburgh could be a Super Bowl contender. Are we going to beat New England? Probably. In Foxborough, I'm pretty sure, in the AFC Championship game. If Gronk is back, which he played last week, if Edelman is back, no, probably ain't going to happen. I don't trust that secondary against, a Tom Brady. And I don't even trust us in the playoffs, even if we get there, because as you guys have seen, they don't play consistently week for week. We just come up with plays when we need it, but that ain't comfortable for me. Because like I said, if a good team gets going and you're giving up those yards, they're going to get points. You ain't going to stop everybody, but that's just how I feel, man. It's great to see them guys at 8-5, and, it looks like we're going to have another winning season, so hats off to Tomlin, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to get my hopes up, but, hey, anything is possible. And Seattle, too, let me say that. Seattle's another team that people need to be looking out for because they look like they're on a mission right now, too. I would love to see Seattle and Carolina. I'm almost booking that one. I would love to see that game. That's going to be something. But that's it, man. That's how I feel about the Steelers, man. We'll see if they can take care of business on this coming Sunday. But anyway, guys, as far as the topics, I think we have some pretty decent topics tonight. We'll try to breeze through them as fast as we can. Hopefully you guys, want to call in and give your thoughts. I do see we have 757 is on tonight, so I'm pretty sure we'll have his segment first. And you guys know after that we'll take calls in the order that they're received, once we're done with the topics. But basically what we want to talk about, man, is, NCAA's return to gaming. A lot of people are speculating now that the Ed O'Bannon case has been paid out, that a game will pop up sooner or later. So we'll talk about whether or not we think that's going to happen. And if it does happen, how long will it take for that to happen? We also want to talk about the importance of Madden attributes. I don't know if everyone saw it. There was an article posted on Operation Sports in regards to this topic, and, they mainly focused heavily on the quarterback. And they kind of talked about, some of the attributes that has no effect on the game when it's user control. So, we'll give our brief thoughts on that topic, as well as, I'm sure we might dab into the ratings and things like that, like we normally do in regards to Madden's ratings. But then the third topic, we had one of a subscriber of my channel, a guy I know he said he's listened to the show before. Just to protect him, I'm not going to say his full name, but his first name is Dan. And he had an idea for Madden's Audible system. So we'll go into that. Once we get to that topic, I'll explain his idea, and then we'll discuss it. But first and foremost, we'll go ahead and start off with the NCAA bit. I'll throw it to Smitty. What do you think, man? Do you think we will see another game? If so, do you think it's going to be EA that will produce it? And if they do produce it, what is your vision, or what would you think an educated guess as far as how long will it take for that game to be built?
as far as that, really, that's really it's really a hard call because I mean, what game do you have out right now that honestly every single factor, every single attribute counts and matters, especially when you're talking about user control. You know what I'm saying? There isn't one. Like, how can you really try out awareness if you user control somebody? How can you tell somebody's jumping ability? You know what I mean? If you're controlling the receiver or if you're controlling the defensive back or linebacker or whatever. You know what I mean? Like there's a little bit of give and take in that area, but from that article about the attributes and them having value and meaning and everything, it needs to be. I mean, and I mean, don't get me wrong, Madden 16 is moving the needle a bit in that regard because they talked about it. They mentioned in the article how it used to just be speed. Like speed and acceleration were honestly for the longest amount of time, like dang near a decade, were really the two attributes that mattered the most. Because I remember back on PS2 days playing NCAA, and legitimately I would recruit a wide receiver that'll be 5'8", 5'9", but was blazing fast. You know what I'm saying? And I would use them, and I would use them on streaks, and I'm killing corners all day off of speed, not really off of catching. Like they could be a 1 or 2 star recruit and have that kind of speed rating, and I'm killing it. And these are the games that we said, that we've all said were some of the best football games made by EA, and you're able to do that in. So if I'm able to do that in NCAA, all that stuff was happening in Madden too. So it is more balanced now, but as far as what they have now, like restructuring it or refining it, like I do think, and I mean we touched on this before. I think it needs to be more. I should say it needs to be compartmentalized and focused by position. You know what I'm saying? Like we need, linebackers and DBs and safeties would have particular, would share rating criteria. Whereas defensive tackles and ends aren't going to have the exact same, they won't have the exact same rating or the exact same general rating criteria, or offensive, you're not going to have offensive tackles and centers with throwing power and, tackle ratings and ball handling skills and all that. Like they wouldn't have all that. Same thing with your quarterbacks too, so I feel if they do something like that, and then on top of it, but this is the other thing too, on top of compartmentalizing, you also have to have the gameplay, like the facets of gameplay need to be tangible in order for the numbers to make sense. Because like I said a moment ago, what's the point of having vertical and, like leaping ability and ball carrier vision and stuff like that when it truly doesn't apply? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not really seeing what's the big difference between one and the other. Or better yet, make it like APS. Numerical ratings are under the hood, just like the what is it called? Like how players celebrate when they score touchdowns and stuff like that. Like remember when Donnie talked about that last year, how you have some guys that celebrate, like your Andre Johnsons and all that. Like, you have guys that'll really put on a show when they get a first down, when they score a touchdown, versus a guy that'll have a demeanor like a Barry Sanders. He just scores and walks off. He doesn't, he's not really celebratory at all. That was all under the hood. Those were under the hood ratings that were given to people in terms of how much they celebrate and show off after they make a play. So why not do the same thing in regards of everybody's skill ratings and just make it more of abilities? And you don't have to, you can do the star thing. Like they have that in Ultimate Team. You have stars under your top players, which is bringing it kind of back to the NCAA, way of things when you had your impact players. But what you can do is instead just do letter grades. You know what I'm saying? What kind of speed does he have? He has top tier speed. His speed rating is going to be an A+, but there's not going to be a number. You won't have a number to facilitate his speed rating exactly. And then when you do draft combines and all that stuff, like when you do your CFMs and everything, you see the combine numbers, but then you make your decision like, okay, do I want to get them, yes or no? And even after you draft them, there isn't going to be like, this guy's got a 98, this guy's got a 99. Like, no, like they're all going to be in one class. Now, one guy may literally be just one step slower than the other, but they'll be in that class. Like it won't be a particular number grade, or what EA could do is have letter grades, but then put out what would put people in that tier. And then there won't be a number to it. You just got players on your squad, and that's it. Instead of like just do away with the overall rating like that, and just these are the top impact players for your squad, and that's it. So that's really my take on it. Like I feel that the less that we can see in terms of a number grading like that, and it's more about how the gameplay translates their abilities, will help a lot more, because we can all go into APF right now and create JJ Watt, and he'll legitimately play like JJ Watt. Like if I let the CPU control him, he'll play just like him. He'll be an animal on the D line by default. You see what I'm saying? But in Madden, it gets very debatable when you're talking about, let's give him this number and this, that, and the third. Like, no, just X that out altogether and just make it, like I said, either a letter grade in terms of skills, or use silver, bronze, all of that, gold, and have the abilities. I mean, they had it in Madden 08. There's nothing wrong with utilizing that same principle now. So, even though we all know they put it in some of the rating criteria, like some of those badges are now just rating fields, but they need to just do away with that and make it more of you just see an ability on the surface versus it being a number. So I'll throw it to AZ.
I'm right there with you in that I think it should be a behind-the-scenes type of deal. It's a pipe dream because we all know how Madden marketing does. I think it's realistic from the standpoint of Rex and Clint and company could actually do it, but the marketing always wants to hype up the ratings and talk about they got Madden NFL Live that talks about ratings of the players and these numbers, and it's a point of conversation. It's something that they bank on every year. What's this guy's rating? Blah blah blah. So if that stuff was to disappear, people would be upset, and unfortunately, we don't benefit from that as sim gamers. But to me, if you go to the ability system that we've seen in All Pro Football 2K, Madden 08, it's better to it's better than actually having just the numerical ratings and going off that, because true enough, when we get to the combine, I'm talking about the real combine and the draft, player evaluations and scouting, you talk about a player's ability to do something. For instance, Derek Morgan and Brian Arakpo. They might be same size, similar builds, but they're two different players. They have, different strengths, different weaknesses. And if you're talking about Derek Morgan is not as good outside linebacker pass rusher as Brian Arakpo. And you have the situation where players play the same, and players play the same depending on just their ratings because they don't have really abilities or animations, I guess, that separate them from somebody who's ranked similarly to them. For instance, Patrick Peterson. Now, I said this to 757, and he might say something about it in his segment. To me, since the patch, Draft Champions plays more of how the game is supposed to be played in terms of having elite players stand out. We've said this before, but it shows up even more so now in Draft Champions over CFM, unless we're playing in Sim Standard Radio League, and that's only because Neff did the ratings for that league. The other league that I'm in, CFM, has been made almost unplayable to me by the patch because you now have below average cornerbacks who can cover above average wide receivers or elite wide receivers because they're either knocking the ball away, at a higher rate than you would like to see from an average quarterback, or they're just tipping the ball up. I see so many more of those animations of the ball gets tipped up and here comes a defender out of nowhere. Why don't you ever see the offense catch the ball? Why, if there's a receiver in that vicinity, why doesn't he go out and make a play like the defense does? It's like we got to get rid of that predetermined passing game and get to more of an organic passing catch. Because if I throw a guy open or try to throw a guy on a timing route and he's not open, don't make the defender warp and get the ball or make my receiver warp and match the animation. If it's not there, it's not there. That should be an incomplete pass. And not until they move away from the, predetermined outcomes that we will, we'll see stuff like that, stuff happen like that. So just to bring it back full circle to the original question of NCAA, I think we'll see it later rather than sooner, just because of how much red tape can be involved when trying to get licensing. I think they could do it similar to how 2K involved, collegiate teams in NBA 2K16, but it's not guaranteed that you will get a full licensed game like we saw in the past. I think that they'll probably just work it back slowly and then have a few teams, and then once they see it's lucrative again, then they'll probably move forward on it. But if I was EA or any other company for that matter, I would be putting something together to either pitch to the NCAA or, trying to build a game. EA shouldn't have to build it. They should have already have something in place. But I would be putting a pitch together to say that, hey, I'm ready to put a game out there for NCAA. Here's what I have. And that company is 2K. To be honest, I mean, we've said for years that they could get back in numerous ways, and this could be one of the ways that they could creep back in. I don't know, if they're interested in that. The football, video game community has been clamoring for a game from 2K, a football game from 2K, and here's a way that they can do it. So we'll see what happens, but I think it'll probably be 2 years before we even see. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it can be sooner than that, but 2 years before we even see a college game creep back in. But I'll pass it to Sim, see what he thinks on that matter.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and comment. on both topics. I think Smitty may have missed the first part, so we'll throw it back to him in regards to NCAA. But yeah, the original topic about NCAA, I'll be real brief with that. I agree with that. I think if it's going to happen, it's going to be a couple years. I think a few things really will be the factor of that, whether or not the NCAA even cares to open up the license anymore. Or whether a company like EA is missing NCAA. I know a lot of them expressed that they miss it, they would like to make it, but when it comes down to, none of us know the monetary side of it. We know it never outsold Madden, and we don't know how pockets were affected with it not being there. Maybe the guys who make the decisions, maybe they decide, oh, well, we really don't need it. See, those type of things we don't know. So I think best case scenario, 3 years, 2 or 3, because I can almost guarantee that it's not a game in production for next year. Because, as we all know, they're already in production for the upcoming Madden. And, all of these games who come out the following year are already in production. So that's 1 year that you're going to miss. So at the very best, a 2-year period. And then it all depends on what product would be turned out. More than likely, it would have to be EA to do it, because they would probably be in the best position to pick up where they left off, so to speak. So that's kind of all I have on that, man. Again, I just think it depends on the NCAA and whether or not, they're going to release these licenses for gaming, and whether or not the gaming companies want to take a risk. Because, looking at EA, this is pretty much like the second or third time that there's been an issue, and now this lawsuit, actually played out. So we'll see. In regards to the ratings, man, definitely, what I felt about the article, and I'll take a slightly different direction, somewhat, close to what Smitty said. This is what I've thought all along as far as the attributes in terms of like user control players. I've said this a lot, because you see a lot of people when they do sliders, and this is not a knock on anybody who does sliders, anything like that. I am not an extensive slider tester to really know what works and what doesn't. But I've always said, when I did my own test and my own set, I tried to use logic. And one of the things that I never really campaigned for, I never really was one who felt like the CPU and the user metrics should be so far apart. Because I mentioned this to Smitty one night, and he agreed. I was like, if you think about it, it's all CPU unless you're controlling the player. So if I turn a user metric all the way up or all the way down, how much of that is really being affected by me? Because I'm only using one player at a time. So that's why especially now, since Madden has done a lot, they've done a better job with untying the sliders and all of that to difficulty. Default seems to play pretty well. And then, of course, there's some aspects that you would change. Like sometimes you might have to perhaps increase, run blocking for the CPU if you don't feel like they're getting enough rush or something like that. I've always felt like you only control one player at a time. So certain attributes and sliders, to me, doesn't affect the game. Like what they mentioned on OS, the awareness. How does awareness affect you as a user? You're the one controlling the player. So, I definitely feel the same way, like what Smitty said as far as the ratings. I think it has to it's a combination of what Azure and Smitty said. Number one, it needs to be more ability-based. I know EA is doing more with the traits now. They need to continue down that path. And number two, it definitely has to be, none of this stuff is probably going to work to the degree where we want it to work until animations are untethered and they're not connected. You see it in every single game. I mean, I see it so much in Madden. And, it's not extremely bad in Madden, but I definitely see it in I'm about to say NCAA. I definitely see it in NBA 2K a lot more than we used to see it, which is, kind of surprising to me. But until the games get to a point where multiple people can interact, and they do their own independent animation. And for the novice who's listening, and some people might not even know what that means. For the people who are beginners, I guess, in this gaming world and don't really know how they work, most of these video games have two-man or multi-man interaction. So, like Azua said, currently the way it works in Madden, the way we have DB and wideout interaction, it's a pre-recorded, motion captured animation, and then the outcome is not all the way scripted. Just to let you guys know, the outcome is kind of based on a lot of different factors, ratings, and somewhat positioning, but not really. But it's ratings, and then the dice roll effect happens, and then one guy wins, one guy loses. Until we can get away from that, and we have it to where this man is doing this thing, that man is doing that thing, the ball goes up, we don't know what's going to happen. Until we get it to that point, it's going to be the same argument. So that's kind of the fight that we are having right now. Us guys are trying to, take the EA like, look, I know it might cost a lot. I don't even know if y'all can do it. But you have to fight to that. You have to fight towards full dynamic gameplay. Because there's always going to be room for complaint when you have these tied together animations. We're never going to get the experience we want. And like I said, you see it a ton in NBA 2K16, which is disappointing sometimes because you don't feel like you were rewarded for what you did. You know what I mean? So that's just how I feel on that side of it, man. And like I said, I'm going to throw it to Smitty, and then, once you give us your thoughts on the NCAA thing, you can throw it back to me, and we'll go into the last topic, and then we'll open it up for the callers. But yeah, Smitty, okay. How do you feel as far as the NCAA side of things? When you expect it to happen? Will it happen at all? How do you feel about that?
And I feel that if that's going to happen, it's really going to come down to the power conferences, like really stepping forward and just saying, you know what, we're going to go ahead and pay these players and go ahead and make the game happen. Which, if something like that happens, you're talking about at least another few years. Because from the way it sounds, some people are saying that they already, they want to make a game. It's just like Azura said, the red tape part. And the unfortunate part is that red tape, that red tape is going to take a long time to cut. So, I don't think they'll be able to do a game again without there being some kind of compensation. So, for the players, there's gonna have to be that because, you're their likenesses are being reflected in the game, and I highly doubt they're gonna continue the series without, allowing that to happen. Their likenesses to be shown in game like that. So I really think that it's not going to go anywhere. We don't have to worry about a game happening for a minute. Trust and believe, I would love to be wrong on that, but it ain't going to happen for a good minute in that regard. So that's really my take on it. That's why I don't really sweat. I'm not really sweating it right now. But I do agree with, I think it was Zura saying, 2K getting back involved in the mix. They could step up and do something. But you've seen how selective it was. They only allowed a small number of colleges. Nobody's going to play. No one is going to play, especially if EA's name is on it. No one's going to play an NCAA game with only certain schools, and that's it. Because the first thing that's going to be said is, "Oh man, I remember this NCAA. They had all these schools, blah 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 blah, and this ain't it." That's exactly what's going to happen. So it's going to turn from pleading for a game to come back to complaining because everything ain't there. So that's why at this point, whether it's EA, 2K, or whomever the studio is, it's going to be more of an all or nothing kind of deal. Either we can get everything to do what we need to do to make the game and, as authentic as we can, or it's just going to be a bust. And they're just going to basically just leave it on the table and all we have is just the NFL and that's it. So we'll see from there. But One last thing, one other thing I want to add on though, from the last thing you said, Tim, about the organic gameplay. EA has that in their wheelhouse already. They got FIFA, they got NHL. Okay,
Yeah.
those games have scripted animations in there. Yes. Do they have some sequences that are scripted? Yeah, but it's so minimal, and I mean it's extremely minimal because the physics they have is down packed. They dang near got it to a T in those games. And I mean, and look, I'm not saying it to make this game, to make Madden, to downplay Madden or anything like that. But those games, FIFA and NHL, those games spent a good, 4 or 5 years working on physics, expanding it out to that point where it was able to cover all the players on the field in terms of them interacting like that. We're talking about making that happen in Madden, a sport that's way more chaotic than hockey, way more chaotic than soccer, with all these players interacting at once, and you're talking about you want the physics to play out right. Now, let NHL have a big old fest of collisions going on at once. Those physics are not going to look good. Same thing in FIFA. There are some tendencies where the physics, they look dang right wonky. It looks crazy at times. It looks like how Backbreaker did when you had bad plays at times. So, and that's usually just between two people. Man, you talking about you wanted to be dynamic with, who knows how many people could get involved on a play as far as collisions. And it all makes sense. So these are all things that it's going to take Madden time to build it. Can they get it there? Yes, I believe they can. But the problem is that the question, I should say, not the problem, but the question is going to be how much time is it going to take for them to honestly get it there? Because these other games already have it. So, that's really where I'm at in that regard. But we'll see. We'll see. So I just wanted to add on, on that from what you were saying there, Tim.
Yeah, it's going to take a bit of time, man. I mean, that's just the truth of it. And what sucks is all of us have gotten more educated on what we think simulation sports should be, and we know that's the next step. So I know just internally, that's always going to be that one thorn in my side, man. Like, some of these sports games that I like to play are just not going to be able to do some of the things I wanted to do until that is a reality. And, I've accepted that. But moving on to the next topic, man, this guy had a great idea, and I want you callers to let us know if you remember. I know Smitty might remember. He thinks that this idea was in 2K3. I couldn't remember right away, but, let me definitely go ahead and let you guys know the topic, and then I'll throw it to Smitty to get his thoughts. But basically, it's in regards to the audible system and the play calling. Basically what he would like to have is the ability to call your audibles on the fly and not having to go inside of the pause menu. Because now, as you guys may know, and I believe it was like this last year as well, so I don't think this is a new feature. But of course, you can go into each one of your formations and set your audibles. And his biggest, concern was like online. Instead of having to have it already set every time you play online or what have you, you should have the ability during the play call screen to set an audible for a specific play, or at least access a certain audible. So in essence, what he's also saying is, take all of those audibles away. Like, you shouldn't have full access to your entire, playbook, or, 4 or 5 different formations or what have you when you call the play. And, I'll tie this little piece into it. I gave him a piece of information that I had heard from a dev before. One of the devs actually told me that he thinks the way the game should be, and I know this will probably really get under some people's skin because they claim they want simulation. But he said, even with the hot route, he doesn't like the current hot route system because no quarterback has the ability to tell their receiver to run 9 different routes. There's no quarterback in the league that does that. You know, let's be real. Most of the time, when you go to the line, quarterback will survey the field, and he'll be like, okay, I'm going to change this to a slant. Or he gives them that look. You know, like Big Ben always goes, alert, alert. And for you guys who watch Steelers games, usually what does he do? It's a run or it's a deep pass down a fly pattern because he sees single coverage. Very, very seldom. I mean, just don't see quarterbacks. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know if we would see it by watching, but I'm pretty sure they don't have like a 9-route tree that they call at the line. You understand what I'm saying? They don't make all of those adjustments. Like maybe for one guy, maybe they'll give him a hand signal, but there's no way you go to the line and you tell the X to do this and the tight end to do that and then the slot man to do this. No. So basically what he's saying as well, in addition to just having the ability, to make those calls on the fly, is maybe you have a formation where, an I formation where you like to run a screenplay. And, he also will want you to be able to call an audible that, basically it shifts you into a different formation, but you might be running the same play. You're just giving it a different look. And I hope I'm explaining that right. And just to give my piece on that, I agree with him. I agree that you should be able to do little things like that on the fly, because think about in football. You hear commentators say all the time, the ex-players, when so-and-so goes into the huddle, he already has, John Gruden says this all the time. He already has, the second play in mind. So when he goes kill, then basically he goes to the second play. So to put it all in perspective, what this guy is saying is to make it more simulation, you should have to make those, make that call when you call your play. You call a play, you have an audible for the play if you get the look you want, and that's it. But when you're about to hike it, you don't have access to all of these different audible options. And, I kind of went around the barn to explain that, but that's basically what he's saying. To achieve simulation, force us to call an audible for a certain look when we call the play, and when you get on field, when you're about to hike it, you don't have access to 4 or 5 and 6 different formations. Audible options that you can go to. And I think I want to agree with that. If we're going to get to simulation football and make it more strategic, and you have to, kind of make a call. And let me add this piece to it. I know that might take a little time. So maybe what you need to do is, have your offensive game plan. I know we've discussed that here on this show. So you'll have a game plan, an X amount of plays, and then, you can pick from your game plan which play you're going to use as an audible in this scenario, in this situation. So that way it won't take you forever. You won't be sitting there at the play call screen trying to decide, okay, which audible. You kind of have to decide that beforehand. You understand what I'm saying? And then that way, when your play comes up, you already have an option to, select your audible just in case. So it helps with game planning, and to me, I think it does also help with simulation. But what do you think about that, Smitty? And like I said, I hope I explained that correctly so you guys can understand what he was asking.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like the concept because we do need the game to, like you said, it needs to be more in line with what is happening on Sundays. That's what we always emphasize. What's happening on Sundays, we want to see that happening in Madden. We want all that. So it's like, in order for that stuff to really come to fruition, we have to call these things, these aspects for how they're supposed to play out, accordingly, and make it more true to form. So I do agree with it. But see, the only problem, and see, of course, this all goes back to why I say there needs to be a simulation mode, because what's going to happen is, like, let's just say they add that mechanic. You're going to have the general public that's going to whine and complain about it. And then they're going to say that, oh, we need it to be like this. And then if there's enough people crying, they're going to end up watering it down. Just like, you know, we talk about like the catching and like we talk about the catching in the game now. How dudes are online, especially online, they're playing without fear in terms of who they're lined up against. Because, I could stop Calvin Johnson one-on-one easily with so-and-so and such and such. It doesn't matter who it is. Like, they could have MC such and such at cornerback, and they're able to break up passes one-on-one easily. It wasn't like that when the game was. So this is what I'm saying. Like, the game's been tuned. See, this is why when something's already straight and people want it to be touched, that's when things go wrong. That's why I like, you know, but I'll, you know, to stay on track, but there's a main point that I want to make about it. But going back to what you're saying in terms of what's going on here, like, I do agree. Being able to call audibles and then set them as you look at the play calls, and that's really it. I agree with that. You know, I agree with it. They need to do some kind of source play calling where it's like, you know, you have the second play. And like you said, you know, like Stafford does the same thing. Like he says, kill, kill, kill. You know, like he'll kill the play. He sees something at the line he doesn't like. There could be 5 seconds left on the play clock, and he'll call kill. And then all of a sudden, you know, he'll kill it and he'll go back to the next play. He'll go right back to the next play just like that, and they know exactly what to expect. You see what I mean? So that's not something he's not calling a hot route. I mean, excuse me, he's not calling a new play and then hot routing 5 receivers and all that stuff. No. You're calling a different play, you switched it, now you go ahead and run it. And that's basically what it would need to be. But to go back to the other point, I'll throw it to AZ is this. See, this is what happens when, you know, we go down to the studio, we play the game, it's a certain day, like, yeah, these guys got something, man. I'm telling you, this is on point. You guys are gonna love it. And man, or, you know, we let you know, like, man, they really got something cooking real good. But then it gets diluted because you have a lot of these casuals, you know, or you have a lot of these sim casual players that will play the game and then complain because they see guys catching passes and they're like, hey, I don't see him catching passes. But then when the season kicks off, you see, I mean, how many one-handed catches and circus catches have we seen from people that typically don't do it this season? But then before when the game came out, though, people were screaming that needs to be tuned down or toned down. So that's what I'm saying. We want these elements, but then people complain about them like that. That's why I'm saying we need a simulation mode, because the game that we want may not be the game that it's not the game that the multitude can actually handle. So you need to have a mode where we can play it where it's gonna keep those thresholds intact. Versus, you know, everybody else could play whatever other level they want to play with and, you know, knock themselves out with. Or do like what NHL does and have a tuner that can be downloaded and it's in game and you can adjust it how you want. I'd rather it be that instead of it, you know, just leave it in the devs' hands and then we all got to share the exact same experience. So I'll just cap it there and I'll pass it to AZ.
You make a great point, Smitty, and I couldn't have said it better myself. Just to piggyback on what Sim says about CFM being the NFL experience, I want that. You know, let these other dudes have their modes of draft champions, mud, play now, ranked, whatever they want to do. CFM should be the Sim hardcore NFL experience. Because, I mean, what it boils down to is we're the ones that play CFM all year anyway. I mean, you might have some guys who'll play first 2 months it's out. You know, they like playing with their team. But as far as the CFM experience, that's us. That's the Sim game players. That's the people who want to build teams and, try to win a championship through free agency and the draft, we are the ones that would appreciate the level of detail that we're asking for when we say, we want these types of audibles and we want an organic catch engine, everything that we've asked for. Because to me, it's so much more that this game can add to me. I don't see us anywhere, being near finished. And I can't wait to see what they have this year so we can give them feedback. But just like Smitty said, like, we go down, we play the game, like, oh, man, this is great right here. I love this build. Can you send me this build? I'm just going to play this build all year because I don't even worry about the game and development. I worry about the game when it comes out, when people get their hands on it, and then people start whining. That's what I worry about. I worry about the reaction to the whine. And the reaction to the whine killed the game for me because when the game first came out, 757 to tell you this, he was playing the game and falling asleep in the chair. He was playing it so much. Like, he'd wake up and be on the game. And, I mean, that's the kind of experience you want. But when they made the game to where it's like, oh, well, we need to nerf this and tune this because people are complaining, and then now you got yourself an issue. Because instead of people learning the game or learning how to adjust, you neutered it or, scaled it back so that people will complain less. Now they're just going to complain about something else. So when the game replicates football and strategy, leave it there. Because honestly, when the game first came out, I would worry about an elite receiver. I would say, oh no, this man got Calvin Johnson. I'm doubling up. I'm putting that, I'm going cover 2 man, and I'm going to let that safety over top of him go over there and help. He's going to have to beat me with somebody else. But now, and I'm only speaking for CFM, I have Calvin Johnson, Dorial Green-Beckham, and Jimmy Graham on my Titans team. And I had a game against the Jaguars where he had average corners covering him the whole game, one-on-one, shutting them down. Now, am I saying that Calvin Johnson cannot be shut down? No, I'm not saying that. But we've seen Calvin Johnson catch passes in triple coverage in the end zone. We've seen him elevate and go up over average corners and catch the ball. So when I go to him on a 3rd down and it's tipped up in the air and magically here comes the safety that just happened to be near the ball, and he jumps on the ground and the ball actually hits the ground, but you call it an interception, that's the kind of stuff that I don't like in my football game. The nerfing and the dumbing down, the watering it down for the casual experience kills it to me. If I could go back to pre-patch gameplay and we could say, all right, this is what I want in my CFM. I don't want the new patch. I don't want the gameplay tuning and all that. We're going to stick with this build right here. I would love that. But, that's what we deal with every year going down Community Day. And, people said that they saw that on OS and they thought it was just, BS. The people would go down, feel good about the game, and then when the game came out, they'd have a different story. And that's true because when the game comes out and millions of people play it, as opposed to a core group of people, outcomes change, things change, and things need to be addressed. Now, exploits always need to be addressed, but watering the game down to help casuals and kids, I can't agree with that. So I'll pass it to Sim, but we've got to get to a point to where, like we said, it's been okay with FIFA to bring their crowd along and teach them the game and give them skills trainer and, help them get better at the game. It's been acceptable to do with NBA, NHL. It needs to be acceptable with Madden. I understand we have skills trainer, but why wasn't it put at the forefront of the game to help people defensively? Because when the game came out, I thought the passing game was beautiful. Now, in my opinion, ruined. But, that's all I'm worried about. Right now, even without being out at community day, I'm worried about once I see the game, how it's going to be watered down August or November. And we got to get past that. Now pass it to Phil.
Yeah, man, we definitely do. I mean, and it comes down to a couple things. Y'all know I feel the same way about, like I said, I've been pitching that idea. CFM needs to be the experience, period. Or some type of mode, like Smitty said. And I think if you don't want to piss people off and you don't want to separate folks, cater one game mode to more of a sim style, because you make the game loose for a month. And, and like Azua said, draft champions seems to, play a little different. So why can't you have CFM play a little different? And then number two, go with your gut. You guys spend the latter part of the cycle tuning and where y'all feel comfortable. Leave it there. It was cool when Rex and them said that, things like the DB and wideout stuff, aggressive catch and all of that stuff can be, tuned anytime without patch. I was happy about that and sad at the same time, because what that told me was, how much adjusting are they going to do based off of feedback? And the funny thing is, more of the sim aspect was happening first. And it was even more people who say they were sim that were complaining about things being overpowered. Now look what happened. Now the defense at times is overpowered. How crazy is that? But yeah, that's all I got to say on that, man. We're gonna go ahead and open the lines. Let's see, we do have a good amount of callers here. We have 4 callers in the queue, not including 757. So we'll bring 757 on first. And guys, since we have a good amount of calls, let's go ahead and say it now. This applies to us as well. Let's keep our calls and responses, relatively short, just to make sure we get everybody in. And then, anytime we have after that, maybe we can bring guys back or what have you. So anybody listening online, if you want to give us a call, you can reach us at 516-453-9126. When you get in, press 1 to be entered in the queue, and we'll bring you in the order that the call is received. So like I said, first and foremost, let's go ahead and get 757 in first, and then the order as of right now for calls will be 205, 267, and 410. Looks like the 4th caller dropped off. 757, we got you in live, man. What's going on tonight?
Soldiers, what's going on?
What's up?
It's the last show of Sim Standard for the year. So what I want to first start with is saying that I called into another radio show, and I don't want to say the radio show because it's not about the radio show. It's about the conversation that we had. And what my whole plight has been with this is, with the sim community and us as a so-called group, what is our frustration? What are we agitated with? What is it that's really bothering us? And one of the host said to me, well, one, it is what it is. I've turned down all the stats on a wide receiver before to 0, and he still moved. I said, well, that's the problem. Because if somebody moves or a player is able to still have the ability to run, catch, or run a route, and that level is at 0, then what are we really playing? What really matters?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because if 0 works, what is the real big difference between 0 and 99? The speed goes up a little bit. He catches, but if we're going to go to a simulation base and we're going to move forward with innovation, then that player should move because he has nothing that forces him to do so. And that is one big part that the community or the sim community gets upset with. When we go into a play now, we go into CFM, and some of us are not in a sim standard CFM. Some of us are in Wild Wild West CFMs with a group of homies that we like, that we know that they cheaters. It is what it is. But when you have the ability to take a wide receiver that's 208 pounds and you put him at tight end, knowing that he's a little quicker and he's going to do some things that's not more simulation based that a bigger tight end would do, all we're asking is the ability to jam his little butt at the line of scrimmage and make it very difficult for him to have to maneuver and potentially get pushed down by my 245-pound linebacker. Because the reality is, you put a little guy at that spot, he ain't going very far. They're going to jam him up. That's frustrating. Now, one thing that took place with the launch of Madden 16 was they give out code and keywords that allows the whiners to get low-bearing fruit. When you use words like aggressive catch, possession catch, and rat catch, I understand the element of marketing and advertising. But when you start saying things of the ability to catch the ball, it takes away the low-bearing fruit because they don't know what to do at that point. Is it the triangle button? Is it the ability of the receiver? What? And I think we need to stop using trigger words that cause people in the community to have something to grab a hold of. Now, when you go and I'm falling asleep in the chair and I'm playing the game and these guys come to me and they have these shows and they say, we're going in the right direction. But then it gets tuned. How are we ever going to get to that place? How are they going to tell us at 19 it's going to be it if 16 wasn't what it was supposed to be? How are we going to get to 2020 if at 18 we keep tuning down and we can't get to the place where we want to be? Because we keep taking these 3 steps forward to take 2 steps back, and we're right back where we were. Mm-hmm. So when the Boo Birds start complaining, all I want to see is a tweet that says, go to skill trainer. The aggressive catch is too overpowered. Go to skills trainer. I don't like the run fix with the linebackers. Now it's too hard to run the ball. Go to skills trainer. The ability of the players, what's going on with this gold and silver system? What? Go to skills trainer. And I'm going to close with this. And I'm saying this to the whole Madden group because I hate saying Rex because he's just a face. But there's 200 of them jokers in that room. Everybody always here cries and arguments and fussing a whole lot louder than conversation. Man-to-man talk. Rex, I'm sorry, the Madden group, as a group, when you going to start hearing us? Because we're coming to you with a calm conversation. And you say that you are, but the game isn't reflecting that you are. It seems like you're hearing the cries and the boos and the yells a whole lot more than you're hearing us. And when you're going to give us our time? When you're going to give us a shot? When you're going to put something in there that we want? Whether it's in CFM or wherever you decide to stick it, just give us a hug. That's all we ask you, so we can go play the way that we would like to play. And you can let the trolls and the savages go out there in the streets and do what they do. But when you see guys who are a part of the community and he wins 200 games in a row, you mean to tell me out of 200 guys he's played, he ain't played nobody that could beat him? Now, that's Jesus. That's season. that ain't that he's the best player, because I don't believe it. And you guys, I know that you see the fundamental. I know you guys see the fundamental problems in it. Uh-huh. But are you going to fix it and say, figure it out like everybody else does? Because you're putting my guys in a bad position. Because in Madden 18, they know they can't come to us with this same conversation and say they're working on it. If we done seen a tune down every single year. Yeah. We're going to have to decide something else to do. And I hope NCAA does come back because then it changes the narrative. It changes the narrative from 2K wanting to come back to us really focusing on NCAA and say every time y'all put out a game, do y'all best to kick Madden's butt. And we'll decide what we want to play. And we'll decide what the best game is. We're tired as a sim community of being Charlie Brown, and we feel like EA is loosely holding the football. And y'all continue to tell us to come on, kick the ball. The moment that we get to it, we pull it away from us and we fall on our back. We're tired of it. I hope in 17 that y'all guys really move forward and take the calculated risk that it needs to be taken in order to move the whole genre forward. See, because change hurts. And we're willing to go through the change, and we're willing to go through the battles and the pain and suffering. But if we're willing to go through it with the tuning down, make them have to go through it with the tuning up. Guys, I appreciate your time, and thank you for allowing me to talk. And I look forward to moving forward in the new year and getting ready for 17.
Man, what a great way to end, to close out his segment for the year. Always great commentary, man. But, wow, I agree with absolutely everything he said. And I think I can speak for the guys. Man, you know, the position that you take on it is always a good one. And it's like you said in a nutshell. I mean, it's getting to that point. That's real talk. It's getting to that point where I ain't going to be able to say the next game or two, like, hey, man, they still working. Hey, I told Smitty this the other day. Honestly, Madden, I'm going to be very brief so we got to get to the other call. Madden is at a point right now, let's just think about this fundamentally, where it's almost nothing left to add as far as fundamentals. I'm not talking about how well something plays. I'm not talking about feature sets. I'm just talking about fundamentally. You know, catching is in there. DB wideout interaction is in there. The ability to throw different passes, all of that stuff. The physics are there. But the problem is it doesn't replicate the way it should. Physics is not turned on all the time. Physics does not dictate the outcome of these things. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what me and Smitty was kind of talking about offline. If they were to do that, like 757 said, you know, you put a small man on the line and you got a big linebacker, somebody that should be able to jam him and hold him up. If they can't do that stuff, until they do that, it's like these features are really not going to be what they can be. You know, DB and wideout interactions is not really going to be a DB and wideout interaction if everything is tied together. Right. So it's getting to that point. And, you know, I say that just to say this. The conversation of they working on it, in a minute, we ain't going to be able to say that. Because now the base, what we all said, where's that base set game? That's 16. So, me personally, yeah, well, of course, there are probably still some features that we want to see. We all know that. Let's just talk about the fundamentals of catching, tackling, interaction, you know, physics, all of that. Now, I want to see these things start taking steps. I want to see the real trenches start coming out now. That's the stuff I'm looking for in case y'all want to know. You know, I know the guys here know that. These are the things now we fighting for. There ain't no whole lot of feature set things that we're fighting for no more because we got the base set now. And like my man said, by 18, 19, I can't still be saying this, man. I can't still be having that conversation like, well, they're working on it. No. We gave you from 13 to Madden 16. And I think the work that was put in place deserves an applause. Now we got to start seeing that next level stuff start kicking in. But, you know, that's just my 2 cents on it. You know, Smitty and AZ, if y'all want to speak on that real quickly before we grab the calls. But that's just where I'm at with it as well, man.
Yeah, I'll just say this real quickly. And I've said this on previous shows. That's what FIFA did back then. and they took a gamble on realism and authenticity, and saying, you know what, we're just going to hit people with it. This is how we're going to build the game. This is how we're going to go about it. And it paid off. Look at MLB The Show. It paid off. Look at, like all these other games, like it does pay off when you give the realism. Will people get upset about it at first? Of course they will. You know what I'm saying? But it still is going to pay off at the end of the day, because you know what? People are going to learn how to play. So you're telling me, and this is the other thing too, the NFL made the decision for there to only be one football game, one company to make a game. If EA says, you know what, we're going all out for realism and it's not going to be tuned, you think people not going to buy it? They're going to buy it. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going to see that realism, and the more realistic it plays and the more challenging it is, and then you bring the presentation in there and you bring the weather elements and all that stuff into the play. Come on. You think all them people that are going to whine, the casuals are going to whine, but at the same time, the casuals will be the main ones learning how to play because they'll have to. What do you think these people on FIFA are showing you how to do these trick moves and all that stuff and everything with these controls? Add the realism, add multiple control schemes, and there you go. And bring that realism. Put that hard, real challenge. Bring football into like the full-on football aspect. Bring that all in, regardless of how people feel. They just need to do that. Skip patching and tuning and toning it down so that the sim casual crowd can enjoy it. Like, no, skip that. Give us football. That's all. I just wanted to say that. I'll throw it to you, AZ. Go ahead if you got anything.
Nah, we can just get to the next calls. Y'all did a great job with it.
Yeah, man. 757 said it real. In a minute, we can't have this conversation no more. That's just real talk. But yeah, let's go ahead and grab the call. 205 we'll grab last. He's asked for that, so I'll definitely grant that. So first up will be 267. After that, 410. Time check. We're at 37 minutes right now, so let's all just be mindful of time in case other calls come in. 267, we got you on live, man. What's going on?
Fellas, what's happening, man?
Yeah, what's going on?
I was sitting down and I'm like, yo, what would be dope is if they add, they add that some element to the game where CSM is that mode. Why don't they add, say the RPG element? Remember back when NCAA, where you can make pitches to the players, the prospects, to bring them to your organization? Why not add that same element to the free agency when you're going to go sign a guy like Richard Sherman? So if you go to sign a guy like Richard Sherman, you're like, okay, I'm going to try to sit down with this guy and his agent. And CFM now, sit down with this guy and his agent, talk it over with him, and we're going to have multiple meetings. And just like in real life, when a player is going to go meet different organizations in different states, you hear about it. So why not hear about it on the news feed? You know what I'm saying? Make that more immersive. You know what I mean? You have to throw, instead of just putting a dollar sign and a couple years added to his contract, why not make it and skip all that? Give us that pitch. You understand what I'm saying? Give us those things that he want to hear. You understand what I'm saying? Let him know that we're going to be a championship contender within the next couple seasons if he comes sign with us. You understand what I'm saying? Or let it be him noticing in some type of way, like the CPU noticing that, hey, all right, look, say Richard Sherman trying to be signed to the Houston Texans. They got J.J. Watt. You know what I'm saying? They got the ball, the linebacker ball. I can't remember his name right now. But you have elements there on the defensive side of the ball that he's going to be attracted to because he's a defensive player. So give us those elements to where we can draw those players in. And then if multiple users are trying to sign the same player, show in the news feed that, hey, Buffalo is trying to sign this guy. There have been meetings and talks. You know what I'm saying? Like, You know what I'm saying? Give us those things in that mold, man. I just think that that'd be dope, a dope aspect to add on to it. And I was playing with the FBG ratings, man, and I looked at my man Phillip Rivers. I'm a Chargers fan. I'm probably the only guy in Philadelphia that's a Chargers fan, but those ratings, like he said last week, don't be scared of those ratings, man. Don't look at the overall and just think that, these rosters stink. I played multiple games with those ratings and those rosters, man, and if you add the abilities on top of that, man, it'd be dope, man. It'd be dope. I really hope EA is listening to y'all guys, man, and like 757 said, there's nothing more to be said, man. You can't have this talk 3 years later or 4 years later talking about they working on it, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got to get it together, man. And I just want a good football experience. So for the NCAA thing, if it happens, it happens. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna be no time soon though. So thanks for the time, y'all. I'll holler at y'all.
All right, man. Thanks for the call, like always, man. And yeah, really, I really don't have anything to add on to that. I mean, it was pretty spot on. I definitely fully agree. And yeah, I mean, like Sim said, we can't be having this exact same conversation over and over and over again. You know what I'm saying? They just need to go ahead and make the investment on realism. Invest in realism and authenticity, not on, and make people have to learn the sport, learn the game, actually pay attention to the NFL, because as we've seen, a lot of people really don't pay attention to the NFL. They pay attention to Sports Center and NFL Total Access instead of the actual league and actually watching and paying attention to games. So, but yeah, no, thanks for the call. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, man, it was an excellent idea. And just from my personal experience, I give you a real small tidbit that right now I'm playing CFM, and William Gay wants to renegotiate his contract, and you offer him a contract and they decline it. Well, just to add on to what my man said, why? Why did he decline it? Can we have some stuff like that? Why was it declined? They don't go into detail as to why, or they don't allow the guy to, say, well, maybe if you do this, maybe if you do that. So, I'm not gonna go long-winded with that, but that goes along with what my man just said. Have that element, because what we always say, what AZ always say, immersion, off the field. That would give huge immersion. And like he said, if it comes up in the feed, and you're like, hold on. Wait a minute, Azul out there in Tennessee trying to get... Nah, we got to go back and pitch this guy again. See what I'm saying? So, yeah, I have nothing else to say on that. We fully agree. Let's go ahead and grab the next call, which is area 410, and Azul will give you your reply. 410, we got you on live, man. What's going on tonight?
What's going on, fellas? This is Des.
Yo, what's going on?
What's going on, fellas? Hey, that was great football talk in the beginning, man. Y'all were killing it with the analysis on the teams, man. It's been a tough season in Baltimore, and I had no idea what in the world this team was going to do, man. But I don't know, man. I don't like this losing stuff, man. I feel bad for y'all in Detroit and Tennessee. No disrespect whatsoever, man, because I truly feel your pain, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right,
nobody would have saw that coming from Baltimore, man. Nobody. That's just crazy.
It's a tough year, man. I mean, this is a tough year, and it's just terrible, man, because it's all about the offensive line, man. Like, from day one of the season, they just didn't come to play. And, almost all the dudes who were injured pretty much because of offensive line.
Yeah.
And same can be said on defense. All the corners out of position every play. That's why they're blowing out the ACLs in the open field, because they're trying to run full speed across the grain to catch a streaking anybody who's running all through our defense. But I ain't even gonna go there, man. This is a Madden show. So check this out, man. I had an idea for the way that they can do the XP in possibly in 17 or whenever. But I don't like the way now that you just have so many unattainable attribute upgrades, or traits that you want to buy. You can just never really earn enough XP to do that. So I feel like if they could do something to where they break it out into tiers, and throughout the season you have what would equate to your first and second level goals now. So 50 catches, 50 tackles, 5 sacks, nothing crazy. And in those first two tiers, the only thing you can buy with that XP or whatever you need to call the reward, you can only buy the lowest level and the lowest costing attributes. Stamina, awareness, the tackling, whatever the lowest stuff is across the board. Then the next level you have, if if you get all your high season goals, or if you have a breakout game and you have 200 yards or 5 sacks or something crazy like that, then you can use that XP towards man coverage, or run blocking, or something that's specific to that position, and something that depending on the position you have, like if you have an offensive lineman, you can be getting in the current Madden, 90 run blocking will cost you like 2,500, but 90 man coverage will cost you like 6,000, and this is not fair because you have no way to get that much XP with your corner, right? So having to be where if they hit all their top goals for a game, not 1 sack but 3 sacks, and then a player of the week or something like that, hit them with something that they can do that, and then at the end of the season, if you have if you make the Pro Bowl, if you win an award, you lead the league in the category or something like that, you can have basically what I'm thinking could be like a Call of Duty prestige token, and you use that to buy possession catch, or swim move or whatever, and you can have this is just all off the top of my head the other day, but you could figure out a way to like categorize the way that you upgrade your players, because I was saying on the game changers, I feel like once you get a dude in XP, in CFM, once you get a dude and he gets up to be like a 90 something, like I feel like they fall off terribly. Like if they ball when they're like an 82, and then you get them to like a 92, they just don't do anywhere near the work that they used to do, and I don't understand why. You know what I'm saying? Maybe y'all can speak to the way that the ratings play out in CFM since they move so much. But what I like to see them do is look at the ratings upgrades that every player gets week to week for online ranked games. And you have dudes that can go from the start of the season to the end of the season and be plus 15 strength altogether, plus 25, 30 awareness, plus 15 man coverage. And on the flip side, you can have the dudes that fall off. So if they can figure out a way to use what they already do throughout the course of a season as a point of reference, but then also have it fit towards, a 30-year plan, what the CFM is, figure out a way to use what they already have and the way that they already calculated and make it make sense. Because that, to me, past the patch just destroying the gameplay on certain levels. But the fact that, we're having to relearn how to work a team every year because the certain fundamentals in the mode, contract negotiations, up until this year, the scouting and the draft class has always been terrible. Now we actually have the basics, and, all y'all guys talking about the free agent re-signing, man. I'm just like, yo, the free agent re-signing 2K5 and all the other games that I still remember was crazy. You could change like the structure of the contracts 4 or 5 different ways. You could, you could front load whatever you had to do. You just had a lot more feedback. You know what I mean? And even on the PS2, Madden, you used to have 15 different bars and graphs, which they kind of have now, but like everything is always going to be orange except for contract length, scheme fit, and location. And it just doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? They gotta really expand that. And like I said on the show before, they need to do that by expanding the way that they track the data in the game and present it, in the menus. 2K can get away with having horrible gameplay, which is what it has in 2K16. Let's not get it twisted. All the horrible things that happen in it make the game horrible because it becomes unplayable. When your center is out of bounds on the inbound every single time coming all the way down court, the game just doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? But they get away with it because it looks crazy, and they got all the shoes, and they got all of this and all of that, and they try the NBA plus insider stats and all of that. Like, that's what they win with, because the association mode is ridiculous. My league, or whatever they call it now, like the control that you have and the integration that you have within the presentation and everything throughout the season, it's a story. You know what I'm saying? Madden is just a series of games until you play the Super Bowl, and they can do so much more. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate y'all to speak to that. Y'all have a very Merry Christmas, man. Please be safe out there. Keep doing your thing. I'll see y'all.
All right, thanks, man. Thanks for the call and for the comment as well. You said so much, man, that I'm gonna try to keep this as brief as possible. But I would like to see something along the lines what you're talking about the XP. I'd like to see it broken into tiers, because to me right now, like you said, it's too expensive to upgrade some of the stuff. Like even when I had Calvin Johnson on my team, you couldn't upgrade him. No matter how much XP you got, he was so expensive. Like, you just couldn't upgrade anything but like awareness, which was, like maybe cheap. And I understand they came up with the sliders, but I'd like to see it broken down into tiers that reward what you do in game. So, say for instance, I got a sideline who keeps getting sacks. So instead of it being I can upgrade his finesse move, blah blah blah, let's have it ability tier of sack master. And he's gotten, he's broken the record of, or not the record, but his goal for that season. Let's just say his goal was originally 5 sacks, and he got 10. That should, bump up his tier level. And then I'd also like to see, once you get to a certain level, you become a star player. And what I mean by stars, you get the MUT, or the draft champion star. So let's just say, for instance, I draft a rookie. I've had him 2 years. He was 76 when I drafted him. Now he's an 85. He's a bronze or, gold star. Because, I guess you could do, they have red, gold, red, whatever. But whatever the highest is, he's the second level of that. And I'd like to see that indicated on the field, like we talked about with NCAA, shows your impact players. I don't understand why that's not in CSM. You should at least have the option to turn it on and turn it off. You know what I mean? Because I understand some people are like, I don't want to see the stars under the player. It's arcade, blah, blah, blah. No, I want to see it for matchup reasons. Of course, you can identify people without having the star, but I'd like to see, on-field representation of that. So I'd like to see people be able to earn and lose stars, something that was not in All-Pro Football 2K8. And I'd like to see an ability system instead of the XP of going through every rating. And that goes back to us saying hiding stuff. So I'd like to see the numerical ratings hidden, but I'd like to see abilities being able to be upgraded through that tier system. But a great call, and call us back, and appreciate it. Thanks for supporting the show. And you have a, happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you too. You be safe as well. But great call. Thanks for the call.
Absolutely, man. And if we have time, I'll add a little bit to that. I'm going to grab 205 first, but yeah, man, there's so much that I can add to that, so I'm not even going to go into that. Let's get the call out of the way first, and then if we have time, I'll come back to it. 205, man, we got you on live. What you got for us tonight?
I'm good, guys. How are y'all?
All right.
Get to talk to my buddy, 757 a lot. We do deals together, and we do little podcast things and stuff, and we talk, and we pretty much dish out everything that y'all talk about. But I got a lot to say, because there's a lot that me and him talked about that he didn't quite hit on that I want to bring up too, and he probably left it out for the table for me. But there's one thing I brought up with him, and I told him that it should be totally done, and if EA's listening, they need to listen to this. When y'all go back down there to play the game, I don't know when it'll be, if it's February, January, whenever it is, but when y'all go back down there, if EA's going to have a beta or whatever, I know they give them out to other people. I know they do, because people that I've seen with YouTube channels that's got like 1 million views or 100,000 views or whatever, They have the beta, and they're looking at it and stuff and playing the game. Y'all three should have the beta. I don't care if they have to do it online and then y'all download it like y'all would like a game, and then y'all turn y'all system off and play it so no one of us will know that y'all are playing, and then y'all can give them feedback. But whatever they got to do to get y'all the game early in y'all's hands to let y'all see and know what's going on, that's what needs to be done. That's number one. Number two, there is too much of this, tuning that, trying to fix this, trying to fix that for all these casual people that it breaks the game. I'm sorry. If you take a drill and you go to drill a hole, if you stand there and drill at that hole for 30 minutes, you know what you just did? You made a big enough hole to where it's going to fit. If you keep tuning the game and tuning the game so-called to fix it, you're going to break it. There's no point in tuning the game that played right to begin with. You had all these bluebirds out here chirping and screaming and hollering that it's OP, but yet you already had people like NYK, who is like I love to listen to and see his videos, out there telling you how to play the game, and y'all calling it OP. Are y'all simulation or are you not? That's the one thing that we need to understand. If you're true simulation, then you would figure out how to play it. You know, right now I'm losing in our league, but I know why. It's because I traded away some of my best defensive guys to try to get better and get some more draft picks. You know, that's understandable, but I'm willing to take it till next year so that I can pick up some guys and then not have to pay so much money out. And I save about $20 million doing that, but right now I'm losing for it. You know, and another thing that really irks me about this community is we have so many people that are trying to do the right thing by us, like y'all are, but yet they take total advantage of that, and it really upsets me when y'all come out and y'all know that they can't say anything, and then when they tell you, hey, we got this, we got that, it's coming, it's looking real good, and then EA pulls the carpet out from under us a month after the game comes out, it makes y'all look like a fool. And it's not our fault. It's EA's fault. And Rex, you have to quit doing that. It's like 757 said with Charlie Brown and Lucy. We're tired of being Charlie Brown. Y'all only got 2 years with us, especially with 757. He's already told me straight up, y'all got till 18 to get this all right. And the reason why he plays the game so much is he's still finding things in it. That's the reason why he enjoys it, but he's still frustrated. Y'all got till just a certain amount of time, and we've got y'all's back, EA. Y'all don't even understand how much we support y'all and why we do videos and why me and 757 say things as we do. We don't come at y'all like some of these, people crossways. We come at y'all with the truth, trying to let y'all know, hey, if y'all do this right, there's going to be good. And people think that if they get the game fixed, there's nothing else to do. If they get the game fixed, there's so much more stuff they can do. There's so much stuff just football-wise they can do, fundamentally-wise they can do. I mean, the game is never ending. It's football. It's always changing. I mean, there's always going to be a new defense that comes out, something trying to stop the offense. There's always going to be a new offensive formations and stuff like that. So it's ever ending. It's football. Somebody's always going to be trying to change the game. I mean, that's just how it is. Football is always changing. And that's my spiel. That's my rant. I know it's all over the place, but that's how I feel. Y'all have a great night, great holiday season. Be safe. Peace.
Yeah, 205. Well, we definitely thank you for calling. One of the loyal guys who always call, always have good information, level-headed. I'll speak on behalf of the guys, man. We wish you, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and the whole nine. Be safe as well. I'll try to recap some of what you said. You said a lot, and there was a lot that I was saying to myself as you were speaking. Okay, remember that. But I'll try to get them all real quick. Absolutely. If there's going to be early access, beta, whatever, yeah, we need to be a part of that. But here's the big but, so to speak. It still has to come down to what they want to do with the game. Because the complaint, I'll give you a quick complaint that the three of us share real quick. The complaint that we have right now, and the devs know this, we've mentioned it, and it's not their fault. I think game changers need to be a little more involved in the creative process. Meaning, most of you guys are very smart out here, and y'all know by now that we usually go to EA, several times during the year. Most of the time, the first time is around February or so. Everybody figures that out. No secret. There used to be a time when we told y'all we was there. So everybody knows that. My beef and Smitty's beef and Azur's beef is by the time we get there, basically what we're doing is we're seeing what the implementation is for that year's upcoming product. And then, we're basically there to test it out, give our feedback on the product. How can it be better? How they should do it different? What changes they could possibly make before it's too late? Because by the time you go back again, you get later on in the cycle, the window is closing now of stuff that can be added and changed. Now we're getting into the tuning phase. So our beef is we need to be involved a little earlier. Why not allow us to be real community liaison representatives and get us in there when y'all start doing the planning? Like my crazy idea is maybe that September or August when you're ready to start the other one, maybe you get us all in on some type of call or whatever and be like, look, what are the big things, man? And this is just hypothetical, guys. I'm going to use some hypothetical numbers. What if they tell us, look, there are 10 things that we definitely can do out of a list of 30. What is the most important? Get that feedback from us because we're the community guys. We're the voice of the community. So then once we all give our ideas and then we come up with this master list, we're like, oh, okay, it's obvious that these 10 need to be done. We're going to go after those first. The other 10, possibly. The last 10 probably can't do that this year. Everybody cool with that? We all be like, yeah. And then they go ahead and start the game. That's what needs to happen. Because regardless if we get early access or what have you, if they already got in their mind what they're doing for that year, we can't make no effect on that. What if 17 comes, when we get there and we find out it's stuff in there that still it should be there that's not there, there's nothing we can do. That to me is a problem. Because I feel like, of course, I love being a game changer. I have developed a great relationship with the developers. And they tell us straight up stuff. It's stuff that they tell us, man, that I wish we could share. Like, these dudes are way more straight up than some people would imagine. But your hands are tied, so to speak. If, we're coming in on it's too late by the time we come in. We can't make any changes. It's like, if you're going to have people who are, quote, unquote, game changers by definition, then we should be involved in the creative design of things. So that's the first thing I would say. And then, the second part is, man, you have to, all of this tuning and all of that stuff has to go. You made a great point. You keep trying to tune and tune. Stop trying to please everybody. And some people might hear me say that and be like, oh, yeah, that's easy for you to say, but all y'all do is talk for Sim. Nah, we don't just talk on behalf of Sim Gaming. We talk on behalf of the sport. The sport is the sport. Regardless of how you chop it up, it is the sport. Football is the representation. Now, we as football fanatics, and a lot of us have played football in the point of our lives, we put that tag on it. That's simulation. That's replication right there. That's what it looked like when I was out there. That's what it looked like when I watched TV. But the sport is the sport. Go for the realism of the sport. That's what you always tell us. And your mantra, and then the way you guys talk, make it happen. And, if Rex and them guys will probably hear this show, they know I ain't talking to them. They know who I'm talking to. Let it happen. Stop playing. Because in a minute, the people who out here who campaign the most for you, in a minute we're going to be like, yeah, all right, whatever. And if it comes to that, it is what it is. But we don't want that. We want a football game. That's the only one we got. So let's make this happen. And the last part I would say, man, because I'm sure, I definitely want to give time for Smitty and AZ to respond to this as well. The last thing I would say is How many things have we seen in the NFL this year that was overpowered? Think about what I'm saying. How many things? I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. is just, geez, wow. I mean, this dude is making catches that'll make you throw your whole TV out the window, not just your PS4 or your Xbox One. I've seen Antonio Brown do stuff that's what would make you lose your mind. Matter of fact, speaking of Odell Beckham Jr., y'all saw that? Did y'all see that game against Miami? You see that blown coverage? Did you see the blown coverage? But people lose their mind when that happens in Madden. Did you see that blown coverage? 84-yard touchdown. But did you see why it happened? This is what I'm talking about. So people need to go ahead with that overpowered stuff, man. Like 205 said, NY Kia showed you. He probably had the best representation. I did my quick video. It was about 4 or 5 minutes. But he did a video that was close to 30 minutes long. Before a patch, this was early on, showing you how you could defend certain things. Some of these receivers are supposed to moss you, so to speak. Calvin Johnson will moss you. It's going to happen. Big body guys, they're supposed to do that. Brandon Marshall is looking like his old self this year. I mean, just people say they want it, man, but they really don't want it. I'm getting frustrated even talking about it because it was a lot of people in this so-called sim community who complained about the OP stuff. That's the irony in this whole thing. That part really ticks me off. But AZ, man, I'll throw it to you. I see Smitty dropped off for a moment, but if you got anything to add to that, please do.
Nah, it's just the fact that, like you said, people ask for it, but they don't really want what they ask for. When they get it, they're like, okay, too much. Can we scale it back? And that's what happens with the patch. Like you said, Calvin Johnson, Odell Beckham Jr., Brandon Marshall, Mike Evans, even, Will Marshall. It's going to happen. Now, the frequency of it is, I think, what people were upset with it. But if you weren't making the proper defensive adjustments to counter it, then you should be getting lost more than once a game. And like you said, people would get upset with blown coverages in Madden, but it happens. It happens in real life. And one of the things I talked about with where this game could go, there's still main areas. The players have to be connected to the field. The surface has to matter. The passing game being organic and having true catches and true drops. I'm tired of seeing catch animations to where the ball just wobbles out. True ball physics. And the AI. The AI has to take a step with that. I mean, I can know what a player is doing, call the proper adjustments on defense, and it still not be covered the way I expect it to be. Say, for instance, a player keeps running out routes. I tell my defensive adjustment to shade outside or look outside, and it's like I didn't even call it. And I know that the shading has been improved for 16 over 15. But at times, it's just like, I can, like I was talking to 757, I can only control one player at a time. So if I want to pass rush, I'm relying on the other 10 people to do, what I'm trying to call on defense. Now, true enough, there will be mistakes, but if I have somebody over there that should be making a play, say, for instance, Jason McCourty, who's not a top 10 corner in the league, but he's a very good cornerback. And I'm telling him to shade outside or play outside because the ball is coming on the out route. I want him to look for that and that adjustment to him be in better position, or let his offense, his awareness take over to where he's seeing this route 3 times in this drive and he jumps on it.
Yeah.
So, the AI has to get there as well. I don't know about you, but I've seen the offensive player avoidance. To me, it's taking a step back unless your running back has really high ball carrier vision or awareness in general, which is fine because ball carrier vision does matter. But if I'm controlling a player and he runs into the back of the offensive line and he doesn't try to avoid him, I think that's a problem. If I'm controlling the player. Now, computer controlled, that's a different story. Then the rating should come into play. But if I'm controlling the player, he just runs right into the back. Where's the player avoidance on that? Even when I try to cut, I should at least see my running back stick a hand out or, try to maneuver or push my offensive lineman in the back, push him forward. So that has to take a step up as well. I don't know, man. It's so much to me that this game can improve on.
So much, man.
I can't wait to see 17, man. I can't wait to see it. I will enjoy 16. Yeah, I will enjoy 16. Until I play 17, because that's how it goes. We play the next year, and we're like, I can't go back. Hopefully, it's not as bad as going back to 15 was. But I don't know, the pass rush got to matter and all this kind of stuff. Like, if you're watching the game tonight, Aaron Donald is wreaking havoc.
Oh my God!
If you got a player down there like that, come on, let it be represented.
That's like what you
the pass rush. The trenches gotta take a step up too, man. Like, I want to see more control and more fighting down in the trenches. Like, I want move, counter move, and so forth. Like, let me try to set up a move. I don't know, man. There's so much more that could be done. It could be a whole other show, as we always do. And I don't want to take up too much time, because now we got a couple of minutes left, and I'll let you wrap it up. It's just, I can't wait. Can't wait to see 17 and give feedback on that. And hopefully, we start to get to where we like, we need to work on that. Is a thing of the past, and we start thinking about creativity and innovation, that kind of stuff.
It's just like you said, man. The theme of what you were saying is what we all continue to say. Flush this stuff out. All of the stuff that Azul just says in the game, but it just don't work the way we want it to work. Focus on that now. Flush that stuff out. Like what he said earlier. Is there anything that shows me in Madden that Aaron Donald is wreaking havoc? There's nothing there to let me see that. There's nothing there for me to identify him or his impact to know. Like in NCAA, you could tell this dude is hot. He's pulsating. He's hot. Watch him on this pass, bro. It's 3rd and long. You might want to keep an eye on this guy. There's nothing like that. The feel being fully tangible and all of that stuff. Nothing like that. And the last thing I would say, the AI is so important. Awareness and all that, it needs to be adaptive AI. Some casual people will tell us, you got the tools to do that. No. We shouldn't have to always tell this corner to do this. If he know he's been beat on the out route 100 times in the game, maybe he cheats the next time because he sees it coming. And everything that Azul said, we don't even have time right now. We had 25 seconds, but all of that stuff is still left to do. So there's plenty left to do, even though, a lot of us are having a decent time, a good time with Madden 16. But 19 seconds left, guys. We just want to, wish everyone happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, everybody. Be safe. And
thank you for
this will be the last show until the first Thursday in January. We'll be back. Until then, peace. Catch us on Twitter or what have you. Be safe, man. We'll see y'all next year.
Once again, guys, thanks for coming by. And if you want to interact with me live, head on over to Sim Standard Radio every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, along with Smitty and Azure Effect. The call-in number for the show is down in the description. Now, of course, for more content, go ahead and click the link above. And before you go, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Alright guys, until next time, lights out.